on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units is now called to order. On October 1st, the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management met in executive session. On October 18th, the Committees on Operations and Finance met jointly in executive session. Earlier today, the Committees on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management and Finance met in public session. Their reports will be filed with the official minutes of today's board meeting. The Commissioners also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts or proposals and matters related to the purchase, sale, or lease of real property where disclosure would affect the value thereof or the public interest. At this time, I'd like to ask our Executive Director, Rick Cotton, to provide his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this month's report, I want to touch quickly on 5 areas. First, with respect to emergency response. In light of the discovery of the shocking string of explosive devices, I want to assure the board that we have put in place enhanced security at all of our facilities. The public will see enhanced police presence that is not based on any specific threat, but it is a precautionary and prudent set of measures to take in light of the discovery of these devices. In addition, I want to highlight for the board a set of initiatives that we have undertaken to upgrade and to assure that our emergency response capabilities meet best-in-class standards. The Port Authority's Office of Emergency Management is leading several key initiatives designed to assure that we achieve this best-in-class capabilities. These initiatives include updating each facility's emergency operations plan so that all reflect current standard and that our emergency operations plans are consistent across the agency. We are upgrading our training for staff and conducting exercises to ensure compliance with federal best practices. Third, we're developing an agency-wide approach to emergency communications to ensure that we are prepared to provide all stakeholders with accurate and timely information in the event of an emergency. These initiatives were born from a comprehensive strategic review and recommendations that came out of our hiring of an emergency management preparedness outside expert consultant. Secondly, I want to say a few words about our airport revitalization projects. This month, the agency marked major milestones in these redevelopment projects. At JFK, as you've heard from Derek Utter, Governor Cuomo announced the recommendations of the Aviation Department's comparative analysis team, and the board has before it a formal resolution to approve proceeding with negotiations to bring these redevelopment projects into being. At Newark, on October 10th, state and local elected officials joined the Port Authority leadership to officially break ground at the site of the new Terminal 1 at Newark Liberty International Airport. This $2.7 billion investment, the largest Port Authority investment in New Jersey in the Port Authority's history, will replace the outdated Terminal A with a modern common-use terminal meeting world-class standards. With respect to the LaGuardia Air Train, on October 11th, we issued a request for proposals for a consultant to assist the FAA in preparing the environmental impact statement for the LaGuardia Air Train project. In conjunction with the issuance of the RFP, the Port Authority issued a ridership report, alternatives analysis, and a study of current and future congestion between Manhattan and LaGuardia. The ridership report indicates that between 6.5 and 10 million riders are expected to utilize the air train when it opens in the early years of the 2020s. I have said repeatedly and repeat here that it would be irresponsible and indefensible not to improve rail rapid transit access to our airports. In connection with the LaGuardia redevelopment itself, I would take note that that is set to hit a key milestone later this fall with the opening of the new airport's first concourse. Finally, I'm pleased that we announced this week that all of our commercial airports, Kennedy, Newark, LaGuardia, Stewart, will offer free fast Wi-Fi to passengers. In one sense, this announcement is small, but in another sense, it is very large. It is small in that it is an improvement in one specific capability available to our customers. But in another sense, it is very large. Large in that today, fast, free Wi-Fi is a fundamental functionality that has become a bedrock expectation of our customers, and that our airports have been slow in responding to meet this customer experience expectation. This week's announcement symbolizes the agency's commitment to change, to improve greatly the customer experience at our airports and at all of our facilities. Third, I want to make a comment on the continuing record operational volumes that both the port and our airports are experiencing. At Kennedy, at Newark, and at LaGuardia, as well as the airport system as a whole, we broke historic passenger volume records yet again in the month of August, the latest month for which data is available. The airport system reached an all-time August high of 13.2 million passengers. The recent record-breaking volume clearly puts us on track to set a new annual record in 2018. At the port, our port department continues to set records in terms of container and rail volumes. In August, the port handled a monthly record of 651,000 TEUs, which represents a 3.2% increase over August 2017. Rail volume, a key aspect of our Port Department growth, is up 13% from the previous year's August numbers. Fourth, I want to say just a word on PATH. PATH remains on schedule to achieve installation of its positive train control technology by the end of the year. This achievement would make PATH the first railroad in the Northeast region to fully implement the federally mandated PTC requirement by the year-end deadline. I'm also pleased to note that PATH will open its new Harrison Station on the westbound World Trade Center to Newark line next week. And finally, I want to take note that the board is being asked to approve the award of the construction contract of the new customs and immigration facilities at New York Stewart International Airport. This is an important milestone in our expansion plans, and I urge a positive vote when this resolution is put before the board later in this meeting. With that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my report.
And just one other issue you could touch upon, Rick. Monday, you and I together went down to the Port Department and sat with a lot of our employees, the first of a series of town hall meetings. Maybe we could just tell the public what's planned for the next 30 days. I think there's 6 other meetings planned, including one later today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You and I are scheduled to meet, conduct meetings with our employees at a total of 7 of our facilities. We completed one earlier this week. We have another scheduled following this meeting, and then we will travel to 5 other facilities. And this will provide us with an opportunity to hear directly from our very dedicated and capable employee base in terms of what's on their mind, as well as to convey how we're proceeding on our priorities. And I know that both you and I are looking forward to that exchange.
Right. Thank you, Rick. Any comments or questions for our Executive Director? All right, moving ahead, speaking of employees, Rick, we're losing a good one. So for those that don't know, Molly Campbell. Molly is taking leave and going to Harvard. She's going back to school. I will tell you, when I heard, Molly, I couldn't be more proud, first of all, that you were accepted to that very competitive program. But I was also a little bit upset and disappointed because you have done such an extraordinary job as one of our leaders here at the Port Authority. And when our Executive Director talks about this increased flow of TEUs and additional containers and super containers, well, that was all made possible because of your wonderful stewardship and leadership over the last 3 years. So while we're all proud and we're sad a little bit that you're shoving off, so to speak, you always have a home with us, and I will tell you this is a great, great loss for the Port Authority, and I know the Executive Director has some comments as well.
Yes, I very much appreciate and pay tribute to Molly's dedication, initiative, and always collegial attitude in terms of how she has worked with me over the 14 months that I've been here, and the collegiality that I have observed in terms of her engagement with the senior staff and with colleagues across the board in all of the departments. And the challenge of handling the record levels of cargo that the Port Department has met really with distinction, rising to issues that have arisen, leading the development of the Port Master Plan, which will be coming out later this year. Molly has really exhibited the leadership qualities and the dedication that really are hallmarks of the Port Department and of the Port Authority as a whole. So, Molly, I wish you the best of luck. I thank you for all of the energy and effort that you have poured into the Port Department, and say thank you and good luck.
This time, the Vice Chair, Chair, and Executive Director want to present a proclamation to our outgoing Director.
So while we're gathering, I'm going to read the tribute. In recognition of her hard work and dedicated service, and with appreciation of the honor Molly Campbell for her service to the Port Authority and New Jersey and the region it serves. Since joining the Port Authority in July 2015, as Director of the Port Department, Molly has successfully led the Port of New York and New Jersey in achieving record levels of cargo growth. Under her leadership, the Port welcomed the largest Neo-Panamax container ship call on the East Coast following the completions of the main navigation channel deepening and the Bayonne Bridge navigational project. During her tenure at the agency, Molly was particularly focused on the continued improvement of all port operations and infrastructure. She was instrumental in leading her team in the ongoing development of a port master plan. Under her direction, the Port Department has improved its relationships and communications with its customers and host communities that will serve the agency into the future. It is with sincere gratitude that we recognize Molly Campbell for her dedicated public service to the Port Authority and the region it serves.
Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, I'll have our Executive Director present for consideration a resolution regarding the Port Authority's commitment to embrace the Paris Climate Agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say that I asked to make this presentation myself because I believe that the sustainability objective of the agency is critically important. Just to put this in frame, we have said we have, as an agency, 5 priorities. First and foremost, safety and security. Second, profoundly excellent execution of our capital plan, focusing on the customer experience, operational excellence, and 5th, sustainability. And this represents a major step forward in the agency's commitment and execution with respect to its sustainability priority. I will make this presentation, but I want to recognize and say thank you to Christine Wadig and her staff who were instrumental in executing on this priority, as well as to all of the agency's departments who have been totally supportive and made contributions, which I will touch on briefly. So with that, the Paris Climate Agreement was a major step forward and commitment by major companies, our countries, 120 plus countries in the world in terms of addressing climate change. The climate agreement itself was a step forward in that it took the 2050 goal and said if we're going to achieve the 2050 goal of an 80% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050, countries had to set interim goals, and that was the key to the Paris Accord. Unfortunately, the U.S. withdrew or announced its intention to withdraw from that accord in 2017. The commitment is to achieve reduce global warming below 2 degrees centigrade. As noted, 196 countries signed. The element, as I mentioned, was to set up interim targets to assure progress. When the U.S. did announce its intention to resign, 17 states formed the U.S. Climate Alliance in order to commit to interim goals as specified, as proposed in the climate agreement, and New York and New Jersey were leaders in that commitment. Today's resolution, which is before the board, is to update our policy so that the agency itself embraces the goals of the Paris Agreement. The Port Authority is specifically setting for itself an interim target of a 35% reduction of our Port Authority emissions by 2025. Now, this is quite a challenge. What the graph that you're looking at shows is that between about 2008, we're using 2006 as a baseline. In the past 10 years, the Port Authority quite admirably has achieved a 13% reduction against that 2006 baseline. But we are stepping up today to achieving almost double that reduction over 7 years. So we have set ourselves a very ambitious target, and we are prepared to hold ourselves accountable. So we have got a clean dozen set of Port Authority initiatives. Just going to go through them very quickly. With respect to clean electric vehicles, 36 all of our airport shuttle buses on all 3 of our major airports converted to all electric buses. Our target is 50% of light-duty vehicles utilizing all-electric vehicles. That would represent a conversion or change in terms of our acquisition policy to have 600 to 750 vehicles online as all-electric. We will install a new fast-charging hub at JFK, which will be capable of a full recharge of an electric vehicle in 30 minutes or less, and we would hope to reproduce that in other locations. With respect to both our seaport cargo handling and the airside industrial vehicles at our airports, our goal is to get those to all electric vehicles. At the seaport, the port will be piloting the first ever electric cargo equipment in partnership with Mayer Vehicles, and with the goal ultimately of expanding to all of our port facilities. At the airports, JetBlue has had a pilot program underway in terms of all electric equipment on the air side, and our goal is to expand those all-electric equipment to all of our airports. With respect to installing energy-efficient LED lighting, 6 projects across multiple facilities. Those in and of themselves would produce a 2% greenhouse gas reduction, and our goal is to have those in place by the end of 2019. A $100 million investment in energy-efficient retrofits, again across the agency, and our goal there is to have those retrofits achieve in and of themselves a 15,000 metric ton greenhouse gas reduction annually. Moving to solar and renewables, what we have on the table is multiple solar installations, again at 5 of our facilities, and a major fuel cell installation at One World Trade Center. In addition, we will be expanding dramatically our renewable grid power purchases over this period of time. We are going out very shortly with an RFI with the goal of establishing a 5 megawatt community solar project at JFK, which would provide low-cost alternative clean energy to the surrounding community. As we move through the last four, the $25 billion of new airport facilities that we are building at our three major airports all incorporate best-in-class sustainability measures. We are going to extend, or we're proposing to the board, the extension of the ocean-going vessel Clean Vessel Incentive Program in order to incentivize reduced emissions by those vessels. We will issue shortly an RFEI, which seeks proposals for offshore wind support facilities. Both New York and New Jersey have been leaders in seeking to expand offshore wind installations. In order for those goals to be successful, we need very, very substantial onshore support facilities in terms of the very large construction elements which will have to be shipped to the installation sites in the Atlantic. And our ambition is to have New York, New Jersey, our facilities play a very strong role in that. Along, by the way, in addition to supporting clean wind energy, it will provide a dramatic increase in jobs wherever those support facilities are installed. And finally, we intend to sign up with 6 separate coalitions to ensure that we are at the forefront. We are drawing on best practices. We are challenging and engaged with partners to achieve as high a level of greenhouse gas reduction as we possibly can, and to be sure that we are involved where collective action is needed to move forward on those ambitions. And I would take note that the Port Authority will be the first transportation agency in the first 5 of the coalitions that are listed on the side of this chart. Our overall goal in terms of the period of time that we're looking at will be to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the port by 3.6 billion pounds of coal burn as an equivalent. And finally, I'd like to submit, in terms of the board action, request that the board embrace and approve our embrace of the Paris Climate Agreement in terms of the 35% reduction target by 2025, and specifically provide program approvals for the 2 programs that are listed on this chart. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request favorable action by the board.
Any questions or comments from the board members? Commissioner McCabe.
I just want to comment, and I just want to recognize the chairman and the director and the entire staff. How important this is, especially for an organization like the Port Authority, due to other decisions that were made. And also, I said this earlier. I got it, thank you. You know, where the public discourse over the last several years has been a either-or proposition, jobs versus environmental quality, I think the Port Authority has done a wonderful job of demonstrating in our discussions today that both can be achieved and be achieved correctly and responsibly. And I think that the recognition duly noted for taking the lead on this very important issue, and to the chair, the director, and to the entire staff involved with this wonderful, wonderful job.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? All right, we're going to defer action on this until we hear from the public speakers program. At this time, we're going to provide the public, members of the public, to comment on Port Authority matters. This public comment period, which is limited to about 30 minutes in total, provides an opportunity for members of the public to present their views directly to the board, but does not provide for a dialogue. Members of the public wishing to discuss specific matters with the Port Authority staff are advised to contact our Public Affairs Department, and they'll be sent off to the appropriate employee. Speakers are asked to comply with a fixed time of about 3 minutes. We have a list of 10 speakers, 4 of which have checked in so far. So let's start the public portion. Mr. Weissman.
Chairman O'Toole, Director Cotton, Commissioners, first, I strongly applaud the agency's embrace of the Paris Agreement. I look forward to see how it develops, and I hope you'll devote some resources to influencing the behavior of your tenants and customers. As to my remarks, you have copies of them and online at completegeorge.org, Mobility as Service. Over the past 5 years, a host of bike share providers have taken up operations across the Port District. These businesses, some of them which have been already acquired by Lyft and Uber, are quickly evolving into multi-service providers that promise cheap, flexible commuting options for the public, enhanced efficiency and resilience for the region, and new revenue streams and cost savings for the agency. But their success will require adequate and growing infrastructure. And some agency actions, including its 2013 authorization to restore the GWB paths to a pedestrian standard, have been counterproductive. For a sense of scale and to understand the need for robust crossings, annual city bike trips have doubled since 2013 to 16 million, and I think are on track for 21 million this year. To prepare for the L subway shutdown, City Bike will bracket the Williamsburg Bridge with an additional 2,500 docks, stepped-up valet service, and a fleet of 500 e-bikes. Eventually, bike, scooter, ride, car share, plus mass transit, trip planning, and billing will be integrated into a single app whose efficiency and pricing model have potential to generate millions of dollars of use fees for the agency. Properly deployed, this model can increase throughput on existing infrastructure, extend catchment on underutilized facilities, routes, and stations, enable plans for congestion pricing, and broadly enhance the region's resilience to transport outage. By drawing down demand at aging bus and train terminals, you extend their service life. You also help ensure that their replacements don't fall victim to early obsolescence. Over decades, even incremental reductions can save the agency billions of dollars in capital expenditures. We do not know if these services will operate as public or private entities, or if an app will function as an aggregator, nor will the public care so long as it works. But these full-spectrum providers will have to offer cheap, efficient, two-wheeled service in their packages to be competitive, which is why the agency must support requisite infrastructure at its terminals and robust capacity on its crossings. Failure to do so collars the baby, ensuring that the precocious infant chokes on its own growth. And we wouldn't want that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela Pinsky?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Angela Pinsky. Hello. I'm the Executive Director of the Association for a Better New York. I'm also the co-chair of a coalition that launched 2 weeks ago today called A Better Way to LGA. Our coalition represents a wide range of local, citywide, and national organizations that support Governor Cuomo's proposal to bring air train service to LaGuardia Airport. Our members include Queens-based organizations such as the Queens Chamber of Commerce, Queens Economic Development Council, and Long Island City Partnership. Academic institutions, including NYU Wagner's Rudin Center for Transportation Policy and Management and the Vaughn College of Aeronautics and Technology, labor and tourism advocates from the Transportation Workers Union, Teamsters, VCTC, and General Contractors Association to the Hotel Association of New York City and Hotel Trades Council, as well as major airlines and operators such as Delta, JetBlue, United Airlines, and LaGuardia Gateway Partners. New York City's population is growing. We have more people living in New York than ever before. Our economy is growing. We have more jobs in New York than ever before. And our tourism is growing. We have more visitors to New York than ever before. All of these factors demand that we, as a city and state, plan responsibly for our future, create rail-based solutions to move our increasingly mobile people, workers, and visitors around, and create desirable mass transportation alternatives to cars. Current options to travel to and from LaGuardia are either expensive or discouraging and unfriendly. For too long, they have been underwhelming as a welcome for visitors to our great city and limiting to New Yorkers. Recent surveys have shown that nearly half of all business travelers have completely avoided traveling to New York for business, translating into significant loss in regional and economic activity. It is essential that we provide a fast, reliable, and convenient public transportation connection at LaGuardia Airport. The AirTrain to LGA will create a comfortable, modern, affordable, and accessible public option to get to the airport while taking millions of cars off the road each year. This is undoubtedly a bold and contentious infrastructure project that will elicit a variety of valid perspectives and reactions. However, as this project is evaluated and we begin the environmental assessment, we must ensure that at the end of the day, this process delivers a mass transit option that will encourage ridership, and in doing so, take cars off the road and decrease congestion, and is commensurate to the world-class and modern airport that the Port Authority is constructing now. It is an important opportunity to transform the travel experience to and from LaGuardia, and in doing so, realize massive benefits for the Queens community and broader New York City region and economy. Thank you again for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Anna Yoon? Not here. Hope Knight?
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners, Executive Director Cotton. My name is Hope Knight, and I am President and CEO of the Greater Jamaica Development Corporation, also known as GJDC, a not-for-profit community development organization focused on expanding economic opportunity for the residents and businesses of downtown Jamaica. I am here today before you to speak in strong support of the JFK redevelopment project. As a mission-driven organization, GJDC seeks to induce private capital investment in ways that enhance the quality of life for those that live and work in Jamaica. In recent years, GJDC has succeeded in attracting significant development to the neighborhood in the form of 30 mixed-use projects currently in construction or in the pipeline, containing more than 3,000 residential units and over 2,000 hotel rooms. GJDC also works with local businesses and provides a number of services, including assisting them with access to capital to help them grow their businesses. Downtown Jamaica and JFK are inextricably tied. JFK Airport supports approximately 300,000 jobs in the region and driving $45.7 billion in economic activity. Downtown Jamaica greatly benefits from this proximity to the airport, and the JFK redevelopment project is very important to the ongoing economic vitality of this community. The unique opportunity for us to ensure that the local community can leverage the current and future opportunities of this $13 billion investment. This project will generate significant contracting opportunities for business, create employment opportunities for those seeking employment in the workforce, as well as those young people that will enter the workforce in the near future. The 30% MWBE goals will be a powerful tool for those businesses that have not historically been able to access opportunities and projects of this scale. The Port Authority has begun to actively engage the community by conducting several outreach sessions in the various locations in Southeast Queens. Recently, the Port Authority convened the Community Advisory Council, of which I am a member, and is comprised of a wide range of community stakeholders. This diverse group of stakeholders will ensure representation of the collective interests for the communities that will be impacted by the redevelopment. Based on the proposed framework and the focus areas that were proposed at the Community Advisory meeting, I believe that there will be a transparent and comprehensive process to align community priorities with the JFK redevelopment project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leslie Mullings?
Good morning, afternoon, rather. My name is Les Mullins, and I'm the senior pastor of the Far Rockaway Community Church of the Nazarene. I'm also the founder and CEO of a charter school network functioning out of Far Rockaway, Queens. I'm here to speak in favor of the positive impact that the JFK redevelopment plan would bring to our community. I've served in Far Rockaway for over 35 years. Far Rockaway, as some of you may know, is to some extent, a disadvantaged community. We've been through several ills and plagues over the years. The community has dealt with long-term isolation, residents being underserved. We've been severely hit over the past years, and one such tragedy was the Superstorm Sandy. With that said, the JFK redevelopment plan can really help and develop and strengthen the economic growth of our community. John F. Kennedy International Airport supports, like was said earlier, over 300 jobs in the region, driving $45.7 million in economic activity. The JFK redevelopment program offers a unique opportunity for us to ensure that the local community can leverage the current and future opportunities of this $13 billion investment. The largest, think about this, the idea that the largest transportation infrastructure is happening not just in New York City, but in southern Queens, where many people call home, and can influence their businesses and their way of life. We are anticipating and we are hopefully expecting that this redevelopment plan would be a shot in the arm for our local community. The JFK redevelopment plan will also influence our youth and young people in the community, school age, college age. Think about the idea of a school, CTE school, early college school, that will help to establish growth and strength in the youth in our community. We will work with the current young people in our community to establish this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Murray Bowden?
On the wall behind you is the name of this agency, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Keyword port. Port is a place where people and cargo come and go. Originally thought of by water, now we know air, rail, bus. But most important is what says on the second line, New York and New Jersey. New York and New Jersey are an economic area closely connected to each other. The silos that had 5 different railroads have to be broken down. The Commissioner of Transportation for the state of New Jersey the other day directed that all of the information for drivers, pedestrians, be updated and made logical for the safety of the population. That's historic. There has been a dichotomy, a difference between the signs in New Jersey and the signs in New York and one city and the lines on the road in one. Today with autonomous vehicles and cars that drive by themselves, people sitting there and texting while they're driving, the information for drivers has to be consistent, simple, and uniform across this area. New York and New Jersey don't compete with each other. They compete with Baltimore and every other port on the east and west coast. The integration of the various railroads and bus systems has to be done quickly. The idea that contracts take forever to do is over. At the MTA, one of the MTA meetings on Monday, there was a question raised on a certain thing, and they said, well, we'll get back to you and we'll have this resolved in a year. And Chuck Moeller said, we want it done quickly. The ability to change how you deal with problems is new. And if I said that Mitch Pally, who is the Long Island member of the MTA, if he couldn't deal with a certain problem, please get off the board, we can't tolerate you anymore. He's been there for 13 years, but he's not doing the job. It's your responsibility to upgrade the speed which things are done and the economics with which they are done. Everybody's hacking everybody else. My emails are being hacked, and so is everybody else's. Let's get it done quickly. I'm over the hill. I can't remember so much. It's embarrassing. It's my grandchildren's and your grandchildren's and everybody else who's in charge today. Give them their chance.
Thank you. Guy Milhalter? Guy? Armando Sanchez? Armando Sanchez? Yvonne Garrett Moore?
Afternoon, Commissioners. I don't know if I'm on or not. Can you hear me? I guess, yeah, okay. Wow, I look back at my notes, and I've been here since 2011. Some of you know that, and lobbying for economic development in and around Newark International Airport. Director Cotton, the environmental initiative is extremely important. It's important for our community in particular because we have a number of children and adults in and around Newark Airport that are impacted by asthma. The health conditions there are just at astronomical proportion. So when we look at developing this environmental initiative, it must include the communities. And so I am asking, because I've been before the commission here for some years, asking for the Aerotropolis Initiative Airport City concept to be established. We should have a standard practice of the airport city Aerotropolis concept so that it allows the port to engage effectively with the community. We need a comprehensive community development relations with Port Authority. Unfortunately, members of the community were not invited to the groundbreaking on October 10th. And this is the neighborhood that abuts Newark International Airport. We have to improve our communication. We have to improve valuing our relations so that we can build effectively, because the resources and the technical assistance that our port has can directly impact the neighborhoods. We should build on that best practice so that the objective that the commissioners want to reach through the environmental initiative can also be carried out through our neighborhoods. So it is imperative that we establish this community development relations, and not just government relations, but community-based relations, so that we're comprehensive in our development. I was going to read my statement to you all in 2014 that references my communication with you in 2011, asking for this comprehensive community relations building. We have to be intentional about community engagement. And so I appeal to you to make sure that we have a standard practice of community engagement as a part of the port's policy. So thank you for that. We look forward to working again comprehensively. We've established the Newark Transformation Newark initiative to make sure that we have a coalition and the relationships are intact so that we can build effectively. So thank you again. We look forward to a successful economic as well environmental initiative.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlene Tellerico.
As my father would say, maybe you saved the best for last, since I'm always last. Good afternoon. This is my 11th appearance before this board. I'm not sure if you are all aware that Chairman O'Toole is a contributor to the New Jersey Insider webpage. I look forward to his columns, for they are always interesting and well-written. His most recent contribution, titled Serving an Investigated World, Self-Preservation, is why I continue to appear before you and pursue the truth. The following excerpt, I quote, "If history and seasoned prosecutors can teach us anything, it is at the end of the day you never know where you will end up or what you will uncover until you do the work, and most people are forced to make choices. I have found in my experience the most, if not all, are most concerned about preserving themselves over all others so they can survive another day." End quote. Eventually, I will find someone to do a complete, unbiased, truthful investigation into what occurred on August 4th, 2016. Then someone, in an effort to protect themselves, will speak the truth, which is that on August 4th, 2016, Diane Eller assaulted and physically injured me, and the Lincoln Tunnel Police and the Port Authority tried to cover it up. Remember, I went to the Weehawken Police Department with a bandaged hand done by Port Authority Medical and documented proof of a physical injury. I also had an appointment scheduled by the Port Authority Office of Medical Services for a hand specialist the next day, which was paid for under workers' compensation. Under these circumstances, how could Diane Eller not be charged with simple assault? It's blatantly obvious. The Lincoln Tunnel Police and the Port Authority wanted to protect Diane Eller and used their power and relationships to do so at my expense. Rest assured, and I've said this month after month and will continue, I will continue to appear before this board, and I will never give up until at the very least the hostile, abusive environment I was forced to endure at the Lincoln Tunnel is properly acknowledged. Thank you. And I do look forward
Thank
to
you.
your columns, for real.
You're one of the few. Thank you very much for those kind words. We will now proceed with the voting of items before the board today for consideration. Each of the respective committee chairs will provide a brief report prior to the matter being considered. As chair of the Committee on Operations, I will now present certain items on the committee's purview. The first item, which the executive director presented earlier, authorizes the embracing the Paris Climate Agreement and certain related environmental initiatives and commitments. Prior to making a motion, I'd like to see if there's any recusals from any commissioners.
There are no recusals.
Any commissioners have any questions or comments? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second? You have a second? Second? Okay. Let's call for the vote. Okay, John?
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford? Yes. Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
Item is approved. The next item authorizes a lease supplement with Signature Flights Support Corporation for its continued operation of the fixed-based operation facility for continued aviation aircraft at Newark Liberty International Airport. Under the supplement, Signature would be required to invest $5 million in the facility and pay increased rentals to the Port Authority. In exchange, the Port Authority has agreed to a 5-year lease extension as well as a modification to the lease use clause to allow for proposed commercial flight connection service for Signature's general aviation customers. Prior to making a motion, I ask if any recusals, Madam Secretary.
There are no recusals.
Motion.
So moved.
Your second. Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Item is approved. Vice Chair Linford, as Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, and the World Trade Center Redevelopment Subcommittee, will now provide his report and 4 items before the board for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, and the World Trade Center Redevelopment Subcommittee, I will now report on several items under the respective committees' purview. The first item, which was presented by our Chief Development Officer at the committee meeting earlier today, authorizes the Executive Director to enter into exclusive negotiations for the development of 2 new international air terminals at John F. Kennedy Airport. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any Commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any Commissioners
So
have
moved.
any seconds?
Second.
Thank you. Having received a motion and a second, I will now request the Corporate Secretary to call
Chairman.
the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item reauthorizes a project to expand and upgrade the passenger terminal at New York Stewart International Airport at a total project cost of $37 million, an increase of $7 million, and authorizes award of a contract to construct the terminal expansion. The expanded terminal will include a new customs hall that will provide for a vastly improved customer experience while meet our commitment to the federal government to create permanent federal inspection service facilities at the airport. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the corporate secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Before I ask my fellow commissioners if they have any questions or comments, how many people here have actually gone to Stewart Airport? Great. I think it's just a wonderful fourth airport, and I commend everyone to go up there and use it. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? You want to go, George? Oh,
So moved.
thank you. I will now request the corporate secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item, which was presented by our Director of Tunnels, Bridges, and Terminals in committee earlier today, reauthorizes a project to rehabilitate the Center Avenue and Lemoyne Avenue bridges at the George Washington Bridge at a total project cost of $112.7 million, an increase of $21.8 million. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the corporate secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
Commissioners Bagger and Eve are recused.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? I will now request a motion on this item.
Move. Second.
Thank you. Having received a motion and a second, I will now request the corporate secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Recused.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
Thank you. As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item authorizes a $13 million work order contract to complete the site-wide integration program at the World Trade Center site. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the corporate secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? I will now request a motion and a second on this item.
Second.
Thank you. I'll now request the corporate secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve?
Yes.
Commissioner Horowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
McDonald? Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Yes.
As the votes are in order, the item is approved, and I turn it back to our chairman.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. There being no further business, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Your second?